make sure if everybody was still good with that, don't have any issues with it. If the company doesn't have any issues, you're gonna continue at your same rate, and we'll move forward with that so we'll bring that to you. There are a couple other things that I wanted to do. I sent you an email I didn't mean to overstep my bounds, but by the same token, when I get some information, and I was a little worried about tonight's meeting, I didn't know what was going to happen, and I wanted you guys to all have as much information as you could have in advance to be prepared. So I sent you a bulletin, and I assume that you all got it and had it. So I will say this to you about that bulletin. If you have any questions and need to discuss it, we would be happy to discuss it with you, and I'm sure that others would be as well. So just an FYI, just so you
I appreciate it.
got it, because I was really concerned in light of things going on around us.
I did not receive the bulletin.
It was an email forwarded.
Okay, I did not receive the email.
It was sent yesterday. I will send it to you though. I have to go back to my office tonight and I will do it right away. I just copied it off of that.
So did everybody else get
the
it?
former
I got it.
email, I guess. I hope everybody
I
got
got
it.
it last night.
Okay. All right, no problem, Emily. Yes, that's it. That's it. The back page is the most important part at the bottom. Gotcha. Okay. And just as, if you would like to discuss that more, I'd be happy to do it. We all would, whatever. The other thing that we want to talk about is that we have lots of resources available to us through our state association, our national association, about business, about all kinds of business, how things work with liability, how things may work with liability, how things don't and do work with loss of business income coverages. If you're getting bombarded by people or have questions or issues about that sort of thing that you would like to have issued or would like to have answered, please don't hesitate to give us a call. Very happy to give you any kind of information that you might need and answer questions. And if we can't answer it, we certainly know where to go to get it. There's a lot of things that are not answerable at this time because all of this is new, but some things are just plain common sense. So, Allison, you want to talk about the cyber situation?
Yes, so as a result of this, there's a lot of working from home, there's a lot of raised incidences of cyber liability issues. We do want you to be aware that we are aware of who your IT is. We work well with them. If there were to be a rise of an incident or anything, please call us first. We wouldn't want to jeopardize any coverages based on any misinformation or mishandling of information. So if there were to be an issue, a question, please just let us know up front, and we can handle it from our end as well as working with IT.
Corey at Abacus is very aware of this. This is not something that's unique to you or us. This is an industry standard that, generally speaking, in these kinds of cyber liability and cyber breach policies, you want to notify your insurance carrier right up front. And sometimes the authorities might say that it's double top secret and you can't do that, but it's held double top secret because we have to do that. And so what they want to do is they want to make sure that you're getting all the resources that you need and that your tech has everything that they need as well, so that they can help enable them to fix your problem. They're not there to take over, they're there to help and provide resources, and that's what the policies do. But they don't want to come in 3 or 5 or 6 weeks later. They want to do it up front so that they can help with forensics and all that stuff too. So that's why. Corey does a nice job, and he understands all that, so I think you're in good stead there. Anything else? Is it questions, issues, anything? anything for us?
Plus Corey is also online with the EI stick and the Homeland Security and all that, because he had to be registered with that before he could work on my election stuff. So
He's on it.
he's on it.
Anybody else got any questions for you, ladies?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, we're down to where we moved 13A under B, so do you want to comment on this, or we just start out by what? Kind of this,
Yep, I'll start. So first off, I like to say I've had several people contacting me over the last couple weeks, on support of some kind of guidance on getting stuff moving again. There's been lack of guidance and help from the state, and so I kind of got a small statement that I'll kind of go through. For starters, I want to speak in my support of the Back to Business plan that's been proposed by Blaine Wilhauer as well as Darren Bailey. Basically, starting this plan on May 10th, phase 1 would start, where retails would open about 50% capacity, as well as restaurants. Personal care businesses such as hair, tanning, massage, nail, those would be fully opened. Gyms and places of worship would be at 25%, with bars and indoor theaters, sports, and summer camps. Gaming facilities still closed. And the second phase would move on, which limits social gatherings to 25 people and much less restrictive. And then finally, the third phase would start in like June, and again, easing other restrictions. So as everyone knows, Richland County's only had 3 cases, and those 3 cases are fully recovered. So I believe, as well as I think many of the people in the community, feel it's time to kind of get back to life. It's not the governor's place to determine who can make and who can't make a living. This week, I've talked with several businesses that were forced to close their doors or see kind of backlash of the public opinion. Those businesses did what they were told, and because of that, they were promised, help from the state and the sense of unemployment and such. And of those businesses I've talked to, there's been very, very little support from the state, or none, in the last 2 months, unable to receive employment or anything else. I understand the importance of distancing ourselves from others, but why can't a small mom and pop shop put tape on the floor no different than Walmart or Rural King? No matter the business, we've heard this time and time again on Facebook, no matter the business, it's going to be essential to that family providing for their putting food on their table. So I feel like every business, no matter if you're selling, food or CDs or whatever, it's essential to that person. So Richland County, as well as surrounding counties, have very low numbers of cases. Richland only 3, Crawford 11, Lawrence 4, Wabash 1, Edwards 2, Wayne 11, Clay 2, Effingham 6, and Jasper outlined at 45. With a low number of cases, it makes no sense for us to cower inside and let our communities be devastated economically. This is especially true for when you just 30 minutes to the east in Indiana, they're opening up. You've got to be very gullible to think that our residents aren't going to Benson's right now to spend their money on retail as well as eating out. Our school building project depends on those tax dollars. Our public safety money depends on those tax dollars. And we have yet to really see the devastation that's going to happen yet. Those numbers haven't even been reported yet to us. So with this excessively long order from the governor, which is, again, being challenged in court for its validity, this is most likely to result in the lack of taxing is going to result in a heavy cut to our public safety fund, which heavily funds our sheriff's department. So we, as a county, we want our small businesses to succeed. When they succeed, the city and the county both succeed. And the current plan that the governor has laid out, I feel, is very crippling in our ability to do that. I feel that we need to open up businesses. We want our small businesses that someone deemed non-essential to be able to make a living. We want our churches open for us to exercise our First Amendment right as well. With this plan, we aren't forcing you to go out in public. We're not forcing you to go out and eat in restaurants up and down Main or Whittle or 130, Noble, Parkersburg, Claremont, or anything. But we do want that to be your choice. So unfortunately, I don't believe it's the county's authority to tell businesses to open their doors or close their doors. According to my research, that is more of a health department. And I don't believe they will do that unless you pose a health risk. So I want your business to succeed. I want to help support you in doing that. So basically, in summary, I want to recommend that we look at one of the 2 resolutions that I've laid out in front of you, one from Clay County and one from Clark County, either recommending the support to Blaine and Darren's plan, that would be from the Clay County or the Clark County, basically laying out guidelines we feel businesses should follow if they so choose to take the liability to open their doors. That is all I have.
Okay, so comments from the board? I agree with you a little bit on this, Morgan. I don't think it's our business to open up Richland County because we didn't close it. I think from a liability standpoint, I don't think we should, but you're not asking to open it, you're just having guidelines that hopefully the governor will change his mind, I guess. I don't know, but I think for a liability standpoint, I was told by the insurance people not to make comments on it. I think some people they're telling people, like I read the article from the Mexican place, that they said the city told them they could open, but that wasn't true. So there is things that gets moved around that shouldn't on Facebook and by word of mouth. I've got to read this a little bit longer to understand what part of it means. But if anybody else has got anything they want to comment, I'd sure appreciate it. That way we know what everybody's thinking on this.
And if
guidelines.
anyone has comments on Zoom, feel free to type them in the chat box or any questions. We might be able to answer those as well. Essentially, the one with the larger font is the Clark counties. And that's basically just laying out guidelines that so if businesses choose to open up, they've got at least a platform or at least a guide of what to do and what it looks like. Even under whereas, the third paragraph in the bottom, each business remains responsible for their own compliance with Illinois state regulating bodies and are wholly responsible for their own liability in conducting business. This just basically gives them a sense of what to do, what not to do. I mean, it's not a binding resolution that we're saying everything we've heard from the state's invalid, we're doing what we want. This is helping our businesses do what's best for themselves and trying to get somewhat of our economy moving again.
So I guess I'm confused as to why us allowing the businesses that are privately owned to open. That, personally, more power to you. I wish that they would, but sitting here on this board with what the insurance people are telling us, I cannot in good faith vote in that direction.
I don't feel like you're actually listening. You're actually talking to insurance people, because the insurance people I talk to, it's no different than if someone, this is my understanding, you walk in and I give you the flu because I'm conducting business with you. For one, unless I showed negligence on endangering you, and that can be proved in court, there's no liability, according to my understanding of my conversations with insurance people. And we don't have a business to open. Like you said, we're not telling anybody to open their doors, we're not telling anybody to close their doors. We're either offering support for an additional plan that's been put out there, which in the memo that Julie sent out on the second page, it says if we want to create our own plan and send it to the governor as a reference, we're allowed to do that. There's no harm in suggesting otherwise. That would be more the Clay County resolution, which would be the smaller font one. That's just saying, hey, we read Blaine's plan. We like what it says. Governor, we're not saying we're disregarding anyone's health. We're not saying we're disregarding any executive orders. We're saying this is another plan that in our neck of the woods, where we have only 3 cases, might fit better for us.
Did you say that plan came from Clay County? Because they met last night and they did not approve that plan, correct?
Because you're correct, but according to what I heard from people at the meeting, it was worded incorrectly, and the resolution they had was worded incorrectly, and they were under the impression they couldn't amend it. And so I think they were guided to, versus passing that, because I think their plan said, we're going to implement this once JB Pritzker approves it, and that will never happen most likely. And so they'd be better off doing nothing than passing it once JB approves it, under my understanding.
I just think that they've made it pretty, I mean, the governor has made it pretty clear that to, you know, speak on this, to give an opinion on this, to issue any order or suggestion from the county level, no matter our opinions and beliefs, any of that, I mean, there's a liability there, and there's a liability of whether that's health, loss of licenses for different businesses, lots of our own federal dollars as a county, because, I mean, that has been brought up as well, that those could be withheld, loss of insurance coverage, those things just, I don't feel like, as a county, I don't feel like we have the authority to move forward and make any kind of statement in regards to this, because it's at the state level.
Andy or Brad, would you give an opinion on, I guess, the executive order as far as legality?
Statute says that he can do that one time for up to 30 days. There is no provision for extension or issuing another order. So right now he's flying without a parachute. There's a lot of legal consensus from more than a few lawyers, but the people at the State's Attorney's Appellate Prosecutor Service, a guy named David Robinson, went into a detailed analysis of it and said he doesn't have the authority to issue a second order. It's pretty weak. But what was demonstrated yesterday by some of the noise that's been made from the state is they will use any means that they can to try and push people into compliance by threatening their licenses when it may have nothing to do with the reissue or approval of the licenses, but they may, you know, we're short on help. Your license is up, but we just can't get to it yet to renew it. And apocryphal things like that our state parks was 7-10 days later than the state parks in the other parts of Illinois before they reopened, the state reopened. And he has the authority, or the legislature may have the authority to authorize an extension. But presently, there is no authority for an extension. He took it upon himself to do this because, I don't know, he said at the time, well, I don't know how we're going to get the legislature here, 177 people and their staff. Well, the same way they do it every other time when they have a special session. They call them up. It doesn't mean that I'd recommend anybody disregard what the governor has said. But I think you can consider it in the proper context as far as your opinion of his action. Most of what they want to do, I think there is some consensus that a lot of this stuff is a good idea. Being careful, getting separation, protection, being cautious, and but at the same time, there's the political issue out there of whether or how much damage can our local economies or even our state or national economies endure until something changes. Andy mentioned he believes the legislature is being called back into session. I hadn't heard that yet. And they may vote to authorize an extension of this stuff. my first reaction when I saw that he wanted to do it was, is that even constitutional? And, well, there's a state law that says he can do it. And certainly we think about in terms of national emergencies, about the special powers sometimes that are necessary to grant to executives in emergency circumstances. But you know, even when declaring war after an attack by Japan on Pearl Harbor, the president didn't declare war. Congress did. And this is a Pearl Harbor by itself was an eye blink compared to the damage already done here in terms of lost lives. But what Pearl Harbor started, there's been nothing to compare with that disaster for the world. That's the worst thing that's happened in recorded history. So like anybody else here, I don't think we need to say this is what we need to do, or that we should ignore the orders, and particularly under the circumstances where the state appears ready to kind of whip people into line by using their discretionary powers that they have to approve or reject applications for licenses or other things that you have to go to the state for. And that's where I was 2 weeks ago. We were arguing this, and people thought that there was, hey, that's expired. And even the judge in Clay County agreed. And that was Mr. Bailey's lawsuit. Didn't get him what he wanted, though. He got a judge finding that he had, that the state didn't have the authority perhaps to extend that order. Maybe they'll go back and maybe they'll try and get authority. And probably by the time any of these lawsuits, God, I hope, would even get to court, or to the appellate or Supreme Court level, these problems might have dissolved. Certainly hope so. And there are a lot of examples in history where executives have taken upon themselves powers that were later found to be unconstitutional. One of the more famous examples was Abraham Lincoln's suspension of habeas corpus for the Civil War. The Supreme Court has said afterwards, well, he didn't have the authority to do that. But what are you going to do about it? So there's no I don't know that insurance is going to tell you don't have insurance if you tell people that we think this is an appropriate way to go. It takes an awful lot more than that to create liability. But, and the state's pushing this pretty hard. Well, you better worry about it. You better worry about it. And somebody might sue you. And that's true.
Our own insurance, ICMRT, their attorneys did recommend we not speak on the issue.
Yeah.
Are you referring to the memo we got?
Yeah, the very last paragraph, such as we were referred to.
And they're
Speaking being most important. It says ICMRT members should be aware that claims arising from any such acts or omissions in connection with their decisions to enact, adopt, affirm, or actively or implicitly promote a less restrictive reopening plan than contained in the governor executive order, and in effect may jeopardize their ICMRT coverage. So to me, that's pretty clear.
That's exactly what the state wants. The governor wants.
And I'm referring, I guess, to the third paragraph. Public entity member only intends to present its reopening plan to the governor as a means of persuading to enact less restrictive measures against the member. An analysis of whether the member's plan is contrary to state law is not needed. So essentially what I'm suggesting is we give a tip of support to this plan that's much more or much less restrictive, especially to our downstate areas that have very low cases compared to north. Which, yes, up north they have thousands upon thousands of cases. By all means, they should probably live by the strict orders that they've been given. But
I don't think our local businesses need our word to do the right thing. I think they're gonna do what they need to do.
I wholeheartedly agree. Personally, I'm giving my blessing to go do it, but sitting here as a steward of taxpayer money, I've got to go with what's been recommended.
well, I'll move to accept the resolution that we show our support of the Blaine Willhauer plan. I'll let you guys do the rest. Like I said, we're showing support for that plan, which would be my third paragraph I just spoke of. A different plan just to show that the other things are needed.
You had that in the motion?
Yep. So moved.
We did the second.
No.
Nobody? Is there a second?
Leroy from Zoom, he says he seconds.
Well, that's all I can say, but that's all right. Well, seeing no second, it dies. I like a second, but I am gonna make my comment kind of like Brian. I think the citizens and business owners of Richland County should do what they were told to do. I'm just like Brian. I just don't feel right about doing it. Has all of them sent things to the governor? They got all their people that's doing that for them. I guess I'm like Brian. I just don't feel comfortable saying yes. But it has died, so it don't make any difference.
Let me say something real quick. The Zoom meeting will end in about 9 minutes. I will try to restart it. No promises that it actually gets done correctly if someone's wanting to jump back on for the rest of the meeting. So just throwing that out there.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no more business on this issue, we will move down to finance committee reports.
Okay. We didn't have a meeting, but I've got some things I want to bring up and find out. One is the elected official salaries, which need to be taken care of. Again, last time we did them was on the 16th, or 12th day of May 2016. We're proposing a 2% increase per office holder, for circuit clerk, supervisor assessments, coroner, county board. There will be no raise for the county board. You want that broke down yearly? What they go to?
They all got it. It was emailed to them.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
It's already been approved. It was in the consent agenda.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
I will note that the only thing on that I would have changed, Tim Hahn took the liberty of getting this typed up with just continuing on the 2% raise. But in 2022 is when you will reset the county board salaries again.
Like I said, we didn't have a finance meeting, but we're approving both April and May. Totals for general. That doesn't include this late claim, does it, Alice?
I added that in red to the back page of the original.
One of the original.
And no one else has seen that late claim yet either, Bill.
There's a late claim from A1 Quality Glass for circuit clerk office for a sneeze shield for protective barrier between public and employees in the amount of $821.95. If you add that to Knott County General, that brings Knott County General to $206,949.81. County General is $85,014.40. I'll make a motion to approve all claims, including highway.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Anything else, Bill?
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. State's Attorney report, do you have anything for us, Brad?
Pretty much got it already. Pretty much got it already.
Okay. We heard from you back in 13 late. Thank you. Animal control here, I think she's, in the fact, I think is what she's done for the month. Just hasn't been very much. That's all I can tell you about what I read and what they sent out to me. Highway business, Danny's not here, but we already approved. That's just, yeah. And the consent items. Anybody got any board committee reports? Okay, we'll go on. We've already done. No, we got an email on under old business. We have an email from county to gov.from.org. So who wants to comment on that?
Okay, I was informed by Corey and the cyber navigators that, you know, whenever we changed emails, we went to .org because it was cheaper than .gov, considerable. But there is, the .gov will now be paid for by the state or State Board of Elections. I'm not exactly sure, but it comes along with, does 911 and the sheriffs, do they have a .gov?
No,
Or the fire departments or ambulance? Anyway, I just asked this guy, he knows that it'll be paid for the next 5 years. And I said, well, are they gonna pay for it for everybody? And no, it's just the elections office. But as long as they're willing to pay for it, I'm gonna go through with it. And I said, what's gonna happen after 5 years? He said something about the fire and the ambulance. I like it very well, because evidently the state must pick that up too. I'm not certain, so. Anyway, since
So
the,
why do they want you to switch to that? I'm trying to figure
The whole
that
board.
out. Because that's what I'm saying. You are just .gov, and that's the county isn't, that's what you put that.
I would still keep the .org addresses. This would mostly be used for elections and state agencies, I presume. It's all,
Morgan,
Morgan,
Corey would like to be unmuted.
He is.
Can you guys hear me?
I can, Corey.
Okay, fantastic. So I just want to clarify that, yeah, the .orgs that we've already got wouldn't go away immediately. Are you going to have to repeat this, Morgan, or can you guys hear me real time?
Go for it.
You guys.
Okay, great. So yeah, the .orgs will stay probably for 6 months. We want some overlap there because you guys have already started using them. Not very many of the other offices are currently using them, so this is still a prime time to switch over to the .gov, especially since it's paid for. I want to be clear and let you guys know it's not like we get some crazy awesome security features with that or anything. It's public perception. The .gov domain is just more trustworthy. So if we use it for websites, if we use it for the jail, people know that they're visiting the right website. So it's just that added layer of trust there for essentially what are your customers.
okay, but I was told that we would have to pay for anything except election use.
So to clarify, the domain will be paid for. So you guys will, Richland County will own Richland County Illinois.gov. So what we do with that, yes, I mean, if we create emails for the election systems, those would be paid for by the state. If I create emails for the county board, that would not be paid for by the state. But you're in the same boat. You're paying for the emails whether we go with .org or .gov. So there's no loss there. Does that make sense?
Isn't .gov, is that more expensive or no, the same price?
Can you hear her, Corey?
.gov is typically, if we were to go out and get it on our own, it's much more expensive. It's a difference of, well, .gov domains are about $500 per year, where the .org that we had was like $300, and that was for 10 years. So huge, there's a stark price difference. However, because we run election systems, the state will pay for that domain. So we're off the hook for the $500 a year registration. There's no added cost to use that in lieu of .org, I guess is what I was getting at there.
So switching emails would not cost us.
No, you're not paying anymore. And it's as simple as me adding, once we have ownership of the .gov domain, I can add it to, my end where I host the emails and stuff from. To prove ownership, I'll add it to that end, and then I can start setting you guys up. Just instead of using .org, I'm using .gov now. It's really simple.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions for me on that, guys?
We're gonna lose you in a few seconds.
Correct, switching it.
According to what he said, I think that's right.
Yeah, except his labor. Does it take much labor?
He said it's really simple, so.
Oh.
It is for him.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just put the consensus of the board was to,
Make the change.
Yes, right.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna switch and the domain is being paid for, then it needs to be consistent across the board. We can't have some people .gov and some people .org.
okay,
Okay, we're down to 13 is taken care of above. So we're at 14, executive session. Does anybody request one? Seeing nobody wants.
We skipped over the business.
Oh, we did that back to business. Oh, you're saying there could be somebody else wants something in there?
Yeah, I would talk about that.
Okay, we're going back to the new business. Bill wants to talk about something.
I tallied up, I don't know what I do on paper now, how much we pay for postage courthouse. And it's like $20,000. If you take 55 cents of an envelope and divide that into $20,000, if we had a postage meter in there, we would be paying 50 cents a letter. We could be saving about $2,000 a year by having a postage meter. What I would suggest would be to have one, have it in Alice's office. And everybody, they go to the post office, they may as well come to Alice's office and buy postage where we can save money. And they would have to tell Alice's clerk how much postage they actually spend, so we can keep a tally per department. And Alice basically agreed to do that.
I forgot, yes,
But she's gonna look up and do some research on postage meters, because there's several of them out there that you can go through. I asked her to check with her fellow county clerks and see what they're doing.
they all love them, and they all have different kinds.
What's the average upfront cost?
There is an upfront cost anywhere from, well, depending on how big or how small a machine you want. I will send out the information, is that okay, after this meeting? I spoke to Vernon, anyway, from Southern Indiana Business Machines, what the city deals with. I think he is also, does the hospital also have a meter?
Oh, yeah.
I think he deals with the schools and a couple of banks. And from his, I can't even tell you the brand he sells, but I liked his brand description better than even Pitney Bowes. I will tell you, at one time, the county clerk's office had a Pitney Bowes machine, and they started charging us like $125 a quarter to use it, and we got rid of it. Of course, that Pitney Bowes is kind of like the Cadillac of meter machines.
But at that time, you had to take the meter down and post it.
Yeah,
That
I
post
had-
office, that postage put on. And today it's online, so you can buy your postage online. You don't have to leave the building.
It's much easier, and I don't think it would be a problem at all to, try to keep track of the different offices' postage. I don't think that's gonna be an issue at all.
But if we could find little spots like that where we could save $1,000, $2,000 a year, it don't take me to add up to where we can do something with some money.
I agree, everywhere we can say.
With the amount of envelopes that Sheila sends out and the voter registration cards I send out. Now, you don't get a break on postcards. It's just first class
Right.
stamps. But we can even, put the postage on certified mails, et cetera. And it's got a really keen way of weighing and telling you exactly how much you need.
I just think it's something we need to look into.
But I've got some information, and Vernon's, I can't think of his last name. He is more than happy to come up and talk to you if you want him to, but I will send out some information this week to you. I told him, because it's in everybody's budgets already, I said we probably wouldn't begin this until December, when all the postage could be moved to the county board. So
It's good though.
I think it'd be a good idea.
Sounds good to me. Anything else anybody got, they want to talk about in new business? I want an executive session, they said, no, all good, does anybody request one? Seeing none, is there a motion to?
Motion to adjourn.
Is a second?
Second.
All those opposed, all in favor of?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you for everybody showing up, including you, Emily.
See you, Emily.
Everybody on the-
Yeah.